We've all had to learn the hard way at some point.
I didn't want to be that person. I knew who I didn't want to be when I grew up. Rocked up in St George, at 19 and ran my first pub. Thought I knew everything. Didn't know anything. He said to me, "You're young, you're smart, you'll never get anywhere." It took me 5 children to break the cycle. It took me 2 marriages and 5 children. If you're positive and strong, you can walk into a business and you can help somebody succeed. If you don't face hard times, you don't become a strong person on the other side.
Let's take the core of that, turn it into something for you.
That was my first thing, was I am so sorry. Because, excuse the French, but I was a bitch. So I was money focused, money driven. That staff member needs 5 minutes. That staff member needs 5 minutes. We all need 5 minutes. The day you get up and you don't want to come to work is the day you need to resign, because none of us get our lives.
Hello everyone, my name's Graham Strang and I hope my younger self is listening. My guest tonight and my very first guest on our podcast is Jodi Cottier, which I actually have had to fix the spelling in because myself and my AI assistant may have added an E and forgot some other letters in your last name. Jodi has a wealth of experience in running businesses, both her own and others. Currently, she's the general manager of the Reflections Black Kubi and has just launched her passion project, Love and Spoon, focused on events and catering. We're going to talk about business, leadership, learning the hard way, and everything in between. Let's get into it. Welcome.
Thank you.
You ready?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I think I'm ready.
You sure?
You're not sure, but I think we're good.
We'll find out. So before we get too far into all our questions, tell us about you. Tell us about your early years, what experiences shaped you to Jodi now, what made all your foundations to...
So I think, I look back to my early years. My parents had a transport company. We grew up in Toowoomba, and mum and dad worked non-stop. Every day was a work day for us. So you were up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So from the age of 7, unloading trucks at 6 a.m, getting yourself off to school, doing all the bits and pieces, coming home, doing your chores before you could go and play and everything like that. Having to cook dinner. And
God help you if you didn't do your chores.
Oh my God, yes. And if you weren't home by the street lights,
yep.
That's when we knew to be home. And we had a really good life. We were lucky. We had a great life. Things didn't always go as planned, and my stepfather wasn't the best person to be around a lot of the time. So that sort of shaped my life in that I didn't want to be that person. I knew who I didn't want to be when I grew up. My mother was the strongest, most amazing woman, and she went through hell for us kids. So when I came along and I had kids, that was my backing. I was going to do anything and everything for those kids. So at a young age, at 18, went off to St George after doing a couple of years at uni. Rocked up in St George, at 19 and ran my first pub. Thought I knew everything. Didn't know anything. It was a real eye-opener that pubs are actually a lot of work. And you've actually got to do a lot of things that you don't like to do. So I did that, then went to the coast for a while. Then I came home and I started my first business. So my first business, I started with one smoko van, and was in a...
What was your biggest seller?
Probably a pork riblet roll.
Yeah, I could go with it.
And the old savoury mince roll. So anything that, 3 in 1, anything that was in a roll, people would eat.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for anything that's got gravy on it, I'm in.
Yeah, so it was huge. And so sort of bought Hunger Busters, it was called, back in the day, and came across a very wealthy, astute businessman who owned a lot of trucks in Toowoomba. Anyway, when I first met him, I was a bit of a smart ass because I thought I knew everything. And he said to me, "You're young, you're smart, you'll never get anywhere." And I went, right, okay. So my aim then was to prove him wrong.
Probably why he said it to you.
Yeah, a year later, I turned up at his Christmas party. I had 5 smoko vans and 2 takeaway shops. And he walked up to me and he said, "So you've done it?" And I went, "Yeah, I did. This is my empire. This is what I've done." And he had a giggle and he said, when I was 17, he said, "I lived in Surat and I bought my first truck." And he said, a young, old guy came up to me and said, "You're young, you're a smart ass, you'll never get anywhere." He said, "Why do you think I said it to you?" So from that day forward, Uncle Neil has been my mentor for life. He has shown me so much and taught me so much. And whenever my world has fallen apart, I've always been able to just knock on the door, walk into his office and have those hard conversations. So then I just went off into the world of hospitality, became a chef, became a manager, did all the things I ever wanted to do, had a dabble in this career and that career, and, had a go at Suncorp in the call centre. Horrible place to work. Don't ever work in a call
I'm trying to imagine you in a call centre room. I don't know how your phone manners ended.
No, my phone manners, I actually do have I have my phone voice, everyone calls it, and they're like, that's not different.
Voice. You've never given this to me.
It's not the real me. And then I did a real estate, and then I came back to hospitality, and then here I am.
So circling back to your childhood a little bit, that you talked about your stepfather and your mother and things, and was it a hard thing when you had kids to break the cycle?
It took me 5 children to break the cycle. It took me 2 marriages and 5 children, because I lived my mother's life pattern again. And I woke up one day and I went, I do not want my girls to go through the life I just went through.
Isn't it just fascinating how we all talk about breaking the cycle and how hard it is to do? You and Tila have traded a few of these stories, and she's talked about and how hard it is to do, but then what tools it gives you to now, how much of that cycle actually has helped Tila doing what she wants to do.
Yeah, I think you just become stronger. You find an inner strength that you never thought you had. It's funny because I looked back, growing up, I probably for 4 years didn't speak to my mother. And it was only when I fell pregnant with my first daughter, I went, oh crap, I need my mum, and I needed my mum. And I sort of used to think, oh, she was weak because she stayed in the, this relationship. Like my dad and her divorced when I was 2. So then I know nothing about that life. And I never asked why they were divorced, didn't want to know, had nothing to do with me, but watched, my mum's second marriage. And then, you think, oh, you're weak, you never left, you never got up and you never left, and then I look at it now and I'm thinking, she stayed for us. She stayed for us kids to have the best life possible. And I thought that took more strength than you could ever believe.
It's I was a bit blessed. I never had to go through any of it. I've only had what Tila's talked me through, and I feel her mother did a lot of the same things with them, and seeing the strength in all the older kids, especially, in how they're parenting to make sure that they do their best, it doesn't happen, and watching our kids, my brother-in-law's kids, all growing up in a way of like, we still fall back into the habits because it's what we grew up with.
Yeah.
But pulling enough of those pieces away that allowing them to probably do things at 17, 20, 25 that we wished we could have even thought about, let alone go and do.
You just, you sort of, I think once you break the cycle, you give your kids the wings to fly and go and be the better person they can be.
I think the hardest thing I've had to learn in it all is giving your children a soft place to land, but giving them a hard push.
Yep. Oh yeah, you push them out the door, and you have to give them that strength. They can go and do it by themselves. And I say to my kids all the time, go and be who you need to be and be what you want to be, but the door will always be behind.
Spare bedrooms, everything.
Yeah, I always want you to come home, raid the fridge, do whatever you need to do, but always come home.
Yeah. So on from that, you talked about your empire, you've talked about Uncle Neil, and running your own business, but then you've also run other people's businesses.
So I've probably been one of those lucky people that have never started at the bottom in anything. I've always walked into it, and I think it just comes with your positivity. If you're positive and strong, you can walk into a business and you can help somebody succeed. I did troubleshooting for a few years, and that was probably the hardest job I had, shutting down businesses, especially friends' businesses. You go in and you try and help somebody, and you try and, get them, especially hospitality, it goes through those hard stages. And I had a girlfriend that had a coffee shop, and she just couldn't do it. And I could never see her doing that vision. So I had to sit down with her and show her the bottom line and say, you're never going to get out of this. Like, my best point to you is to sell. Close it down, sell it all off, and go and do something that you want to do. This is not your passion. But then I've gone into other businesses that have struggled, and you can see the passion there. So you're like, okay, these are the stepping stones of making that passion into your reality.
And it's a tricky one. I have a friend of mine who the Engine Room Cafe. at COVID time. I've always respected him for the fact that COVID landed. They'd done so much work on getting it going. It was profitable, doing all the right things. The rug got pulled out from underneath them. And I watched him wind the whole thing up, sell absolutely everything right down to the pens on the front counter, put the money in his pocket, pay all his creditors, pay all his staff, because he just didn't want to do it. He just go, I don't want to have to rebuild again.
Yep. It's hard. They're the hard times. And the part of that is the hard times is what makes you the person you are. If you don't face hard times, you don't become a strong person on the other side.
If it's always easy, if it was easy, we've got all the friends and family who've had it easy. They don't know what to do here. But it's almost like, well, okay, what do I do next?
Yeah.
Whereas those of us who've had to fight for it, work for it, put in the yards, you respect every dollar, every cent, and every contact.
And I think that's where your passion lies. Your passion lies in creating something that you can turn around one day and you go, you know what, I did that.
Yeah. So that leads on to what's on your shirt.
Love and spoon.
Love and spoon. So you've talked about the empire. You've talked about running other people's businesses. But from the moment you talked to me about that logo, I could feel the energy, the passion. Give us the story.
So I've probably had several businesses in the past. I've had restaurants, I've had coffee shops. I've done all the things that, you want to do. If I decide I want to do something, I just make it happen. I go and do it. So I sort of was in real estate, and I woke up one day and did want to do real estate, and I'd done a vision board, and on my vision board actually was basically a health retreat type thing. So anyway, I ended up at Reflections Lake Kubi. So many of my pictures is what I ended up with. So I'm at Reflections and I love my job. I really love it. But then I started chefing again, and you get back into the kitchen, and when you can make something and you can give it to somebody and you see them so happy and so in love what they're eating, it's just like, that's still my calling. That's still where I need to be. So, and I have the bonus that my children are all hospitality backgrounded. So, my eldest daughter is 2IC at a hotel. My son's his chef. I've got another daughter that, is hospo minded. The other two twins have both been in hospo.
So was Jamie Lee's 21st coming? I'm just going to get you and the family to cater it. Is just going because I'm feeling like I need to hunt anyone else down.
Yeah, no. Well, we did our first Love and Spoon wedding on the weekend.
And how did it go?
It was absolutely amazing. It was, you just stand back and you're like, this is why I did it. So 4 of my 5 children were there. Annika Talia lives on the sunny coast, so she wasn't here. But the other 4 were there. So Jack was back in the kitchen, Will was back in the kitchen, the girls were back on the floor. And to watch the 4 of them actually in an environment where there was so much fun and so much passion, so much laughter, and just like nailing life together, I went, that's why I did it.
So after it was all said and done, you got home and took off your shoes. Were you buzzing or did you sleep like the dead?
I was actually on the biggest high. Like I was on, and I sort of, because I'd sort of prepped on Friday with the kids. They all come out and they said, we'll help you prep. And I went, all right. So we got our prep done on Friday. Then they all turned up on Saturday. And then you see, a bride that's over the moon because you've created something that she just wanted. She wanted chicken palmy, and I refused to serve chicken palmy as a wedding main meal. So I said, leave it with me. So I actually made her, I had to design recipes around it. So I made her some chicken palmy arancini balls and some chicken.
That's delightful.
Oh, they were delicious. And some chicken palmy scrolls. And the look on her face when she was eating it, she was like, oh my God, this is my chicken palmy. So she was so excited. And, to get a message from her mother the next day, say, you created something that she wanted, but so much more than she ever dreamed of.
Isn't it interesting, food, which is such a core part of everything we do? It's like you talk about making an arancini ball out of a chicken palmy. You see that now. People go, I want my dream meal, but the setting's not the right place for it. But being able to go, well, okay, let's take the core of that, turn it into something for you. So when you take a bite of that arancini ball, you're like, there it is. There's my palmy. Perfection.
I always say that food is an experience. It should always be an experience. It should always take you to exactly where you need to be. You can walk into a room of people and you will know no one, but if you can have a conversation over food or wine, you will make a friend like that.
I've said it a million times. My mother has this little saying. It's called more wine, less wine.
100% yes.
Some planters. And then Teal will say, well, you just got to add the cheese platter with it, and away we go.
100%. You've got heaven on the plate.
So, being the passion project.
Yep.
Let's see how many times I can repeat. Do you want to take that into bigger and better things, or you want to keep it as the passion?
So the idea is that at the end of the day, I have a legacy for the kids. It's something that the kids can actually go ahead and do. And it was really nice because, like, Jack called me this morning. He doesn't chef anymore. He sort of got out of it because, chefing is a hard game. And yeah, burnout. Mind you, he's 23 and burnout. But anyway, no judging.
My mother used to say it was the dockets.
Yeah. And I said to him, he rang me this morning and he said, Mum, I think I want to chef again. And I said, well, after the weekend, I think you should. I said, I said, you were on fire. I said, you were back to the Jack that I know and love. And he went, how many jobs have we got coming up? I went, mate, that was wedding one. And he went, yeah, but come on, can we do something with this? I said, yeah, we will do something with this. So anyway, I've had 3 bookings today.
Oh, fantastic. Congratulations. That's bloody awesome.
So that will keep the passion alive and the little project going. So
these first few questions have been leading up to an interesting one, because if people who don't know you very well, you are fairly direct, fairly blunt. I'd say like an old bag of hammers is a nice way of saying it.
Okay, I'll take it.
You're not arguing with me, so that's a good...
No, I'm not going to argue, because you've got to have a tough exterior.
Absolutely.
You can't be soft.
But those who know you better know you have this heart inside. How have you kept the balance? How do you find the way to have the exterior, keep the distance with the people you need to, pull the ones in that you have to, but then be able to say to people, I'm sorry, but I can't help you?
The tough exterior was always there, and it was only a couple of years ago. A lady walked up to me in a shopping centre and started having this mad conversation with me, and I'm standing there thinking, I've no clue who you are. And she said, I worked for you. And I went, uh-huh. And she said, when you had the mans. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. That was my first thing, was I am so sorry. Because, like, excuse the French, but I was a bitch. Like, when I was that age and I had that business, I had this mindset from my stepfather that money was everything. So I was money focused, money driven. Nobody's feelings come into effect. No one's children, no one's nothing. This was who I was, and that's how I drove that business. I walked away from that business going, oh my God, I never want to be that person again. And she's like, you were the best boss I ever had. And I went, I was. And she went, yep. She said, you were firm. You got us to do the job. She said, but you were always grateful. And that was probably one thing I've always done ever since I started in business, was at the end of the day, I always say thank you. It doesn't matter how the day's been. It doesn't matter what's happened throughout that day. I could have had a fight with a staff member. I could have yelled at somebody for doing something. But at the end of the day, I've always walked up and given them one compliment on something they've done that day and said thank you. So they leave work with that one thought in their head that they've done something amazing and that I was grateful for them being there.
I was always taught the shit sandwich. Tell them something good, put the negative in the middle and put something good underneath it.
Yeah.
But going back to that, you just said there, he goes, oh, I'm sorry because I was a bitch. How did it make you feel having that staff member come back to you and go, actually, you weren't?
Yeah, it was actually a nice feeling. But like, I know I can be hard, and like I know with my staff now I'm very hard, and I always look at it that they're my family, and I refer to Kubi as my family. And I do get a little bit of trouble for it because some people don't see life the way I see it, but that's okay. That's how I manage. And it's like when they've done something wrong, the mum voice comes out. And they know when the mum voice comes out that they've done the wrong thing.
Yeah, but you do it outside of it. I mean, you and I have had frank conversations even in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the fact that you don't dress it up, you don't put any sprinkles on it. And if I'm going to ask you an honest question,
I'm going to give you an honest answer, because why lie? Why sugarcoat something?
Absolutely.
Why tell you? I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear.
There's a whole episode in the uncomfortable conversation.
Yep.
It's something that actually so many people grow from, but they don't realise they need to do.
Yeah. And I say to people all the time when they go, oh, you're doing this well. I said, yeah, but what did I do that wasn't well? And I'll say, when I send out something to a school, like when I ask for a review, tell me what I've done right, but also tell me what we've done wrong, because I need to grow.
It's a 1%, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they said, oh, look, if we'd really talked about it, we actually would have rather black napkins than white napkins. Cool, no worries. If I'd missed it, I'm sorry.
Yep.
It happens here.
Yeah. And you got to learn from it.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, going on from uncomfortable conversations, one of the other things is networking. You and I will both go to the opening of an envelope. There's two questions in this. The first part is, what's the biggest mistake you see people make when they first go networking? And in your mind, what's the best way to actually build a real and valuable relationship?
I think the first mistake people make is the negative. They have a negative mindset when they walk into a networking event. People don't want to talk to other people. People go and you'll find it a lot. People will go because their boss has told them to go. They've told them that, you've got to go and you've got to meet people and you've got to be, in there. You're not going to know anything if you're not there. But they go in with a negative mindset. So you'll watch them. They'll walk in, they'll look around the room. They'll go, oh my God, I don't know. Oh, hang on, I know that one person. So they'll go and stand with that one person
For the rest of the night.
Yep. So their biggest mistake is they haven't met anyone else that night. They've got comfortable with that one person. They haven't come out of their comfort zone. They haven't gone there for the purpose of the networking. The purpose of networking is to walk into a room, survey, find the person you don't know, and that's the person you want to know.
And those sort of people especially, I put that back on the people they're working for. So for me, when I send Jane Lee and Chloe at the combined age 37, which I say all the time, first times I've sent them networking, I tied them up with you or Carmen or someone like that, and I would ask you, going, can you take them around? I sent the girls to a TSPE event, and I said to Dan, I said, can you take them around? And he did, and he introduced them to 15 or 20 people. People got interested in who they were, and away they went. But I feel if we're sending someone to a networking event, we should be helping them break the
you
ice.
can't send them much far.
No.
So, yeah. So, and I love networking, and I think it's great. But even to this day, I know so many people in Toowoomba, but I will still walk into the room to find the person I don't know. And I would, my boss will come with me, or, one of my staff members, and I'm an extrovert, not afraid of it. They're introverts, and they just look at me and they go, you can't go and talk to that person if you don't know them. I went, I will know them in 1 minute. And they'll be like, oh, no, we can't. Yep, we can.
I remember sitting with Mrs. Wagner. This is going way back. It's about to be 14 years ago, and I didn't know anyone. And I wore a pink high-vis shirt to a chamber event, which she just didn't do. It was all ties and coats and things. Anyway, she just loved the pink and grabbed me and stuck me beside her. One of the things she said to me then, I was always really stuck with me. She goes, when you walk into the room, find the table, the least amount of people you know, and sit at it, because they're obligated to introduce themselves. And it's always stuck with me that, you just, because everyone's got to tell you who they are, otherwise everyone feels like they're being rude.
Yeah, they're all just sitting there looking around going,
so then we've made 8 contacts.
Are you going to talk? Yeah.
So if you're going to build a real valuable relationship in networking, and I'm not talking about something on the night, something that you build over time that turns into something almost like yours and mine, which has probably evolved more from a small business relationship than into actual friendship. Or how would you do it?
I think it's the follow-up. Okay, you've met someone, you've exchanged business cards, you'd have the idle chit-chat. Ask them really what they're passionate about. When they're standing there, ask them, okay, this is your job. Do you love what you do? You've always got to be doing something you love. Don't get up and go to work if you don't love what you do. So have a conversation with it. But then when you walk away, the next day or the day after, follow up. Give them a phone call. Send them an email saying, hey, by the way, caught up with you at Chamber the other night. Do you want to catch up for a coffee?
And that's where it stops. You don't say to talk business. You don't say anything else.
Let's catch up for a coffee.
Yep.
Because then they're like, oh, actually, this person wants to know me. They don't want to know what I can do for them because that comes down the line. It's always in the back of your head what they can do for you. But in the beginning, you want to get to know the person and who they are, and then you work out what they can do for you.
And sometimes those coffees, you actually go, no, there is no connection there. Yep. It's almost like dating sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But that follow-up, I absolutely agree with you. That follow-up makes such a difference.
Yep. It's the one coffee catch-up.
I've met some amazing people that I've never even done business with, and I'm still friends with them because we just had the cup of coffee. And I often say to people, I'll bring coffee, give me a tour of what you do. I don't go there I don't take my laptop, my bag or anything. I just turn up. If there you go, show me the joint.
Yeah, I usually walk in with my keys and my phone and say, let's have a coffee and a chat. So what do you do? Are you married? What do your kids do? I genuinely want to know about them as a person.
And then half the time there's that scary connection, and you realise that your friend is connected to their friend or your father or mother or something. And
you grew up around the corner. I remember you now. You were the nerd that had the glasses and, yeah.
From workwear and embroidery to custom promo gear, Hip Pocket has been part of my journey, and it should be part of yours too. So moving on that fantastic range of discussions that we had, some of the stuff that people don't talk about, because sometimes I feel like it's a bit of scary stuff, because the mental health and well-being of what we do. It's not only managing all our team's mental health, it's managing our own relationships, those sorts of things. How have you developed tools that have let you work in the high-stress environments of running someone's business, trying to run your own business, networking? It all comes with its own load. How do you manage it?
Look, we all hit the wall.
Oh, yeah.
We're all going to hit the wall at some point. Like I watch some of my staff life. I have some absolutely, I think Kubi at the moment has the best team it's ever had. But in saying that, we've been worked harder than we've ever worked. Like we've had the biggest year we've ever had. So, we came out of last year on a high, but on a real low, because we'd all just worked ourselves to the bone. And, we all have those days where we just want to hide into a shell. And, I've walked into offices where my staff have cried, and I'm like, okay, let's work through this. What do we need to do to fix this? Like, I can't expect them to fix it on their own. Like, I'm always the shoulder to cry on. And people say, stop giving so much of yourself, because it does take it away from you. But, I'll go home and I'll have my cry in the shower and I'll have my moments. But I always look at, as long as you've got something positive to look forward to at the end of the day, you can get through just about anything. But it's always having the right tribe around you.
Yeah, and it's tricky sometimes, like being in charge. If, as my father says it, it's very easy to just keep flogging the horse, because, it's right, just keep going forward, keep working, keep going. And it's a very difficult thing to stop yourself and look at your team and go, they are flogged. How do we get them over this next hub? July for us is usually a very big example of that here at Hip Pocket. We get through those mammoth May and June, and then July, the air almost goes out of everyone. Like your team have just thrown everything at it, and then you've got to go, okay, well, the doors are still going to open, the customers still have to be served. We like last year, we gave a couple of people long weekends, just told them to go, paid them for it, go and just breathe. Do you do something similar to that?
We walked into this year, so the first week back of school, we had a camp of 200 kids. So it was not like we didn't just walk into 2025. We went, okay, let's go. So, everyone's on this buzz, and we're like, okay, we'd only ever done our first big camp last year of more than 200 kids. So we've come straight back into them. We've got 4 of them this year. So we've come in running, and we've got this camp, and we nailed them really well. Big camp, we just smash out of the path. Small camps, we drop the ball on, because we're probably not as set up and as structured. So we've had these few big weeks where we've just go, whereas next week we've got nothing. So it's like, right, we're having a down week. And, I get, that's a week we could be making money. And I went, could be, but we're not.
Richard.
For the simple fact is, that staff member needs 5 minutes. That staff member needs 5 minutes. We all need 5 minutes. Ground yourself. And then come back and you're refreshed again. Like, we've got the bonus that we've got the most spectacular view in Toowoomba. Like, we look out our door and we've got Kubi, and it is stunning. Like, and I say to people, you can't have a bad day at Kubi, because you know what? When you're having a bad day, you kick your shoes off, you walk out on the grass, and you just ground yourself. I always say to my staff, come and talk to me before it's too late. Come and talk to me before you hit that point where you think you're going to break, because there's always a solution. I can always put somebody else in there. I can always, help where I can. I can't help when you're already broken.
And that's some of the culture change we've had here in the last couple of years, where, we're employing Michael, the big fella. He's been absolutely paramount to changing that. Come and talk to me before you're broken. Tell us if the world's ending, if there's something going wrong. We don't need to know the ins and the outs. We just need to know that if there's something happening that you need 5 minutes, the only way we can help you is if we know something.
Yep.
If we know nothing and the world falls apart, and it's a hard thing, it's very easy to look at your staff and your team and everyone around you and go, "You're right. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, cool."
Yeah.
That's how you get into the conversation.
And I think, and you'd be the same as me. When you walk in, you know what's going on with your staff.
Oh, yeah.
I can read my staff. It's the same as my children. I can read them like a book. I can walk into a kitchen and my chef will turn to me and I'll be like, "Tough morning." And she'll say, I'm good. "Yeah, yep, you're good. Do you want me to make you a coffee?" Yeah. And then I go and make her a coffee and I'll walk about and she'll be in tears. And I'll be like, "Right, let me have it. Tell me what happened." And she's like, "No, Jodi, you don't have time." I said, "I do have time.
Because we've got to have time.
I have all the time in the world for you." When I worked at Jupiter's Casino, back in my younger days when Jupiter's first started, I worked in the HR department and I worked the general manager at the time, and it was Jupiter's back then, not Star. He used to say to the staff, "When you walk in the door, hang your troubles on the hook." There was a hook at the door. "Hang your troubles on the hook and leave them there. You're on stage. Perform like you're on stage. When you leave, you haven't thought about that all day. If you want to pick it up, go for it and take it with you. If not, you're done with it." And I loved it. Like, I carried that with me for so long. And I used to say to staff when they were having a bad day, just go and hang it over by the door. And cafes I owned had a hook at the back door and it was called the troubles hook. And you could hang your troubles there. And if you want to pick them up when you left, take them. But you haven't thought about it all day.
Yeah, it's almost like coming to work to have a break, isn't it?
And you've walked into this. Nobody knows what's going on, so put on that smiley face, be who you need to be. But if you can't do that, come and talk to me.
So I have a thing I say to them, rather than asking someone how they are, I say, "How are you out of 10? Actually, Kat Lynn and I've started doing that now. It's a message. How are you out of 10? And whether it's a 6 or a 7 or an 8 or a 9, that then points the direction of our conversation. Yeah. We did that yesterday and I was about an 8 or a 9 and she was about a 7 or an 8. We both went, "Cool, have a great day."
I used to have a chef that when I first started at QB, and you would walk in and you would say, "How are you?" And oh my God, the world would just suck him in and he'd be like, everything was horrible and his world was terrible and this was wrong and that was wrong and he's this. And I'd be like, oh my God. And I would just go, I can't handle this, because it was just always doom and gloom. So I did a deal with the staff and I said, whenever you go into the kitchen, you are never allowed to ask him how he is. Because and then it would spiral everyone, because you know what happens when that little bit of negativity jumps in, everyone's negative. So we don't need that. So I used to say, "All good?" And the one word he heard was "good." And he'd be like, "Oh yeah, all good." So it would change his whole attitude for the day. And I would say like I had a team member who was very empathetic, and she would go over and she'd have him in tears and she'd be in tears. What the? I don't know. Yeah. Yep. So it's like I said, you're only allowed to say "all good" when you go over there. And so we all used to start. So then it was always all good. And he never had time for the doom and gloom, because all he could think about was good.
And it's got its difficulties. I've had team members over the years who have had the same issue month after month, time after time, and it would be the same thing going around and around and around. And that you'd go back to tough exteriors and pushing things away. That's where I had to learn that if we've given you all the help and the support where we're going, and you are not willing to make any sort of change, we have to push them away, because you can't just keep giving it to them.
Yeah.
And that's what I find.
Yeah,
I find in
you've
leadership.
got to go, okay, I've done as much as I can help.
Yeah.
You're not willing to help yourself. So until you're willing to help yourself, and the hard part about it, people like that, they bring everybody else down.
Yep.
And you don't need that in a work environment. Like some days, we all have those mornings where we get up and we just, and I always say, and I say to every staff member I've ever had, the day you get up and you don't want to come to work is the day you need to resign. And I've had that attitude my whole life. That day I've got up and like I was running pubs and I was, got up one day and I went, I can't do 80 hours anymore. I'm done. So I drove down and I was at Whitcott, drove down to Whitcott, and I rang Joe, who was overseas at the time, the owner of the pub, and I went, just letting you know I'm resigning. And he's like, what? I said, yeah, I'm done. He's like, what happened? What have I missed? I said, no, I got up this morning and I decided this isn't what I want to do anymore.
It got likened to me as that inkling of hatred. You just all of a sudden,
And you don't want to be that person.
you feel your jaw tighten and you're like, okay, done.
So then I sit there and you do something stupid like that and then you go, oh crap, what am I going to do now? It's like, what's my next job going to be? It's like, oh God. And then I just say to the universe, okay, show me where I need to go next. And then it was the next day I got a phone call and said, do you want to become a real estate agent? And I went, oh, I know nothing about real estate.
Sure, why not?
So I did it. And then I woke up one day and I went, oh, this is a horrible world. So I went, okay, sorry, Kev, don't want to be a real estate agent anymore. He goes, what are you going to do? I said, don't know. And he goes, you seriously, you're just going to do it again? I said, yep. I said, I just need to find that thing that I'm passionate about.
Yep.
And this is not what I'm passionate about. I said, you are passionate about it. I'm not. And then Kubi came along. And it's always happened, like every time I've sort of done that thing. But I just think if you go to work and you hate what you do, everyone feels it.
So I don't know if you've ever met my father, but he's one of the most, he's a white Western Queensland male, very straight down the line. But with recruitment, he's always said the universe will give. So there's been times we haven't had embroiderers and there's someone leaving and there's stuff happening and I am stressed because that's one of the biggest parts of here. Is like, it's okay. We're told the universe we need an embroiderer. And these people will come out of the woodwork for him. I don't know how he's done. It sounds very similar to you and jobs. It's like, it's okay. The universe will provide.
And that's it. You'd just ask. But yeah, mental health is a really hard one. And it's, you've got to support your team. You've got to support yourself as well at the end of the day. Some days, you just need 5 minutes, whether it's going home, sitting in the shower and having a cry with a bottle of wine. I used to come home from work.
The wine into the shower?
Yep. I used to come home from work when I was in the pub and I'd walk in and I'd pick up the wine bottle and I'd say to the kids, my kids are grown up now, thank God, I'm going to have a bath. And they'd be like, do you want a glass? And I'd be like, nope. And they'd go, that day, Mum. I'd be like, yeah. So I'd come out of the bath and I'd be fine again.
So what's your thing you do that isn't work, isn't relationships? What's that thing that you do that is your bit of interest in life that you just go, this what's what creates my peace and my center?
I meditate a lot. A lot of people look at me strange when I say meditate. They go, you meditate? How do you still your mind? I go, I actually can. I can actually still my mind. Never used to be able to.
They've obviously never played cricket because I can do that at point or mid-off or cover or wicket keeping. That photo I posted the other day of just standing in front of a cricket wicket, I can just go. And it's almost, I find it's like the edges blur.
Yep.
And everything just goes to there and it's like, oh yeah.
Yep. So, when life is hard, I meditate and, they say every person should meditate for 20 minutes a day. A busy person should meditate for an hour. So,
I can sit still that long.
Yep. So I meditate when I go to bed. I meditate when I get up. I put my intention out into the universe of my day. I show gratitude every morning. I spend time with my kids and my people, like my tribe. I have the most amazing tribe around me. And when I feel I need something, or I bring my son, I say, bring my grandbaby over now. And he's like, okay, Mum.
I didn't have that problem yet.
Oh, no, I have an 8-month-old grandbaby who is just absolutely, she's gorgeous. She's just my world at the moment. So I bought her a Mustang the other day. And my kids are like, I'm seeing Jap a message going, just bought Heidi a Mustang. He said, she's 7 months old. I said, it's a baby car. So he thought I'd actually bought her a real one. I'm like, I'm not that rich.
You could be though at some point. You never know where this is going to go.
Yeah, I will be.
We've gone right through from your you leaving home, small business, working for other people, real estate agents, pubs, passion projects. If you had to look right back all through all that and you had to go have the if I only knew this sooner moment, what would it be and how, and would it have changed any of your approaches to now?
I probably would have told myself back then not to take life too seriously because none of us get out alive. And probably get the tribe around me sooner. I suppose when I was money focused, and that's what you vibe on, they're the people you attract.
Yeah.
You attract the people that you probably need the least in your life. So whereas when you've got a clear head, and you're focused on the things that you love and your passions and that, the right people come into your circle.
And that's one of the things I've said it a couple of times, I've said on a couple of videos, is you can't do it by yourself.
No.
Because you'll just fail. Like, you even talk about the people that were around you when you were just money. It didn't quite work because they were there for money. They weren't there for you.
Yeah.
That's the people I talk about being around you, is those people that will tap you on the shoulder and go, hey, no, you're doing right now is not good enough.
No. And they're the ones that, you want the people around you that you'll fall down and they'll actually sit with you.
Yeah.
They'll sit with you for the minute and let you have
hand you the bottle of wine in the shower.
And then they'll go, okay, are you finished? And let's go. And you get back up because you've got them there as your constant support. I've got some amazing friends, and I've got a best friend in life who I'd be lost without, and she is the epitome of everything I wish I was. And she's me in a younger version. She's got little kids and she's just going through a marriage separation, and I just look at her and she's so much stronger than I think I was back then. But then I look at her on other days and I think, yep, you're the one that needs to be picked up today.
Did you ever get caught up with the yes people? The ones just telling you everything you wanted to hear?
I think I was a yes person for a long time, because people would say to you, can you do that? And I'd go, yes. And they go, we need you to do this, and you'd say yes. And it's funny because I always have a word of my year, and last year my word was no. I was going to say no more. And then I just got caught up in, building somebody else's business and being busy, and I was yes. Whereas this year I've actually said no more times than I think I've said yes.
Well,
I've put in for more days off than I ever have in my whole life, in my whole working life. I've turned around and I went, you know what? I'm putting myself first. I'm doing the things that I love. I'm still going to look after your business, and I'm going to still
sit probably doing work, to be honest.
Well, I actually am. I think I'm more focused when I'm back in the office now. So when I'm going, I went to a meeting this morning, and I think I listened more and I took in more than I probably have in a long time, because I've just got that switch now that when 5 o'clock comes, I'm off. Because after 5 o'clock, my family needs me.
Yeah.
My friends I need me.
It's a strange challenge, all of that. But the only way you learn that is with age.
Yeah.
If I try and tell my 20-year-old self that, 5 o'clock's come, that's it, you're done.
Oh.
My 5 o'clock self would tell me, get stuff, I've got work to do.
Oh, my 5 o'clock self would have said, you might be finished at this job, but you're going another one. Because for years, and even now, I'm still the worst person in the world because I still have 4 jobs. I still work for other people as well as Kubi and as well as myself. I still have other people that I work for that are my friends who I will always be there to help.
And that's why we're friends, because we're still as each other. It amazes me, the different things we get tied up doing, and being brutally honest, we enjoy it. You and I get a great deal of satisfaction from doing that too.
Well, I think that's why I didn't last in real estate, because it was a 9 to 5, and I'd get home and I'd be like, what do people do with all their time? What's all this time? Shouldn't we be doing something? And people would go, oh, spend it with your kids. And I'd be like, well, really? No, thanks. But I do love it.
So we're approaching the end. And as you know, my podcast is called The Hard Way. We've all had to learn the hard way at some point. If you had to sum up your journey so far in one sentence, what would it be? And is it also your hard way lesson?
I think I've probably got 2 sentences that I live by.
I'll give you 2. It's fine.
Okay, so not everyone at your workplace is your friend. Go to work, do your job, go home. Mm-hmm. Always live by that. And I'll always live by surround yourself with people who want to see you grow.
That's probably the best sentence of the 2.
Because you spend so much of your time with the people around you, and especially in a work environment, if they're jealous and they don't want to see you grow, they're not your people.
No, and that is a hard bit. It's actually one of the things I've learned about when working for yourself. The weight is different, and some of the people you do work with may not understand where you're trying to go and why you're trying to grow. And I said it in the first podcast that some of the happiest people I know are on $40,000 a year. They've got no interest in growing. They don't want to. But that is not a negative. That's their happiness. And you've got to find a way to be comfortable with that. Yeah. And not actually look negatively at that.
Money's not happiness.
No, it helps at times.
Look,
It's not saying you have to have it. I'm
Yeah.
saying it helps you do the
yeah,
thing.
I sort of look back to my younger self who had a lot of money. I wasn't a nice person.
No.
I look to myself now where I have enough to get by, and I don't struggle, and my children don't go without. But I think I appreciate it more.
I think that's probably the better wording. Well, you're probably the same as you. I appreciate money a whole lot better than I do, because for what is no point having a bank account full of it and having no friends or family to do it.
And then not spending time doing what you love.
Exactly. So now we're on to the very last bit. So this is the book of questions. So I have a little book just here, and in this book, every person who's going to come on my podcast is going to write a question in it that has to be answered. I wrote the first one in here. So therefore you get to read it, you get to answer it, and then you get to put your own question in.
I'm nervous. I'm scared.
You read my writing too, it's horrendous.
What is one thing you believed for years that you have totally changed your mind on? Okay, for years, I believed I would never be a success.
So what changed your mind?
I was told repeatedly told I was a failure. I was a terrible mother. I was a terrible person. I went through some really tough times, and I come out the other side, and I said the only person that can make me a success is me.
Correct.
So then I went, okay, now it's to do the things I'm passionate about. And success isn't money to me. Success is having people around me who I love and who love me.
There you go. Good answer.
I have my question.
Okay. Well,
Do I read out my question?
nope.
Okay.
It is for the next person to read out.
It's my favourite question. I ask it in every job interview.
Cool. And then the next guest is going to read that and answer it. So, thank you very much for being on my podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're my first guest.
I was
But before-
absolutely flattered.
Well, it was Teela's idea. I'll be completely honest. And immediately I had to think about it for a minute, but the second I thought about it, I thought my wife was absolutely right. Don't tell her.
Okay. She'll probably hear it on the podcast, but we won't tell her.
No. We'll know. They will know then if she's watched it or not. Where do we find Love and Spoon?
So Love and Spoon, we will have a Facebook page up soon.
Yep.
But everyone who knows me knows how to get in touch with me. I do have some business cards, and I do have these beautiful shirts that have been made by Hip Pocket. And you will find me at Kubi on every other day. But we will have a Facebook page come live soon.
Cool. And make sure you got Instagram as well.
Yes,
You're in
and
food,
Insta.
you've got to have Instagram.
Yes. Yep. And we did get some amazing photos on the weekend of our food. So, on the team. So it was good.
Yeah. Well, everyone, if you enjoyed this episode, follow the hard way. You can like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, obviously on our Facebook and our other socials. But please make sure you click the like and subscribe, and you'll see us for our next episode.